Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, we talk all the time about how loud and crowded the digital world is. You need professionals like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech to help you get your business out to your current clients and your future clients. You want them to know what you do and how well you do it, so they will sign up with you and you'll grow your business. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, and all the towns around here. Each week, about 31 chapters and over 530 members get together, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And today's local small business success story, going back out to the beach. One of our friends in Wilmington, Brad Caldwell with Spark Business Strategies. Brad is in the Tropical Storm Group, meets 8 a.m. on Thursday mornings at Angus Grill. So if you are in the Wilmington area or planning on visiting the Wilmington area and want to be unbelievably entertained at 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning, guys, so I highly recommend you go see Brad's Group. Brad, how are you today? Oh, got it. Okay. How you doing, Brad?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
Doing good. Entertained. See, but your group is like a good podcast. It entertains and it educates
Yes.
because you want both. Otherwise, eh, why now if I'm gonna be entertained for an hour and a half, I feel I've gotten a free floor show. But while I'm there, can I learn something? And I think your group, 32, 33 strong, some serious
Yeah.
small business owners in that group, and some folks that have been in the Wilmington area in a while, I know, entertain and educate the visitors.
Yeah. I think our chapter is really marked by a fun combination. I know for me as a business owner, there's a little bit of a pressure release being able to go
Mm.
to our chapter. Seeing the people at Tropical Storm is a little bit more lighthearted than the standard business meeting, I think. But at the same time, like you said, it's very serious business people. We pass a lot of business. We take referrals very seriously for one another. So it's super lighthearted, but very intentional, I think.
It is, and the relationships go deeper because of that. So when, like, you guys have your own fantasy football league, you
Yeah,
have your
I'm crushing the guy right now,
who are
killing it.
you playing?
Up against Bill Bolton, the director of operations at Patriot Roofing
Yep.
down here in Wilmington,
Uh,
and up there in Raleigh, actually.
yep. Have you texted him 3 or 4 times since
No, his team's
yesterday?
doing so bad, I feel bad. Saquon Barkley is the only player left, and he needs to score about 65 fantasy points
Okay.
for Bill to beat me,
All right.
which I
Well,
think would require him play 4 football games.
and something illegal to happen. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
So,
sir. Yeah,
so Spark Business Strategies. You help people message, brand, grow. Do we sometimes with business owners, I think we outsmart ourselves and we
yes,
think almost too big to start. And you've heard this from me before, and I know you talk about it as well. When somebody stands up and says, "Oh, I can help any small business owner," like, no, you can't.
right.
You may think you can, but you don't want to. What are some of the things that you work with your clients that you enjoy helping them hone in on that message?
So, what we typically say about Spark and the work that we do is that we bring your solutions to their problems. You, the client, they being the ideal client for your business. And so, when in an effort to bring your solution to their problem, we think a lot of times that most business owners spend so much time solving the problem, they don't know how to speak to the audience. So that's the primary function of most marketing is to help a business with a solution, explain the solution to the audience with the problem, whether that's social media, website, branding. We do a lot of brand strategy because business owners typically teach their employees. And if the owner themselves can't talk it, the employees won't be able to talk it,
Mm.
or they're going to have mixed messaging. And so we spend a lot of time working with businesses on how they communicate their own brand and their own solutions.
And we talk about at BNI meetings, the elevator pitches we do and the 10-minute presentations we do. And I beg people not to read their 4-color 3-panel flyer.
Yeah.
Talk how we would talk. If I'm talking to you, what would you say where I think, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so," and just get down to the everyday terms that we use. My back hurts. My car's just not running like it should, because that's what we're gonna hear.
Yeah. I mean, in our chapter, I mean, more often than not, you're going to hear a bunch of stories that'll reemphasize the point about what it is that we do. So for Spark, recently, like right now, I stopped working on competitive analysis between my client and their most direct competitors. For us, they're in the Scottsdale, Arizona market. So we're working to look at all their competitors to see what they're doing right, where we think they're spending money, where they're misspending money. So we won't make those mistakes for our clients, because more often than not, marketing is from the agency side, and I'm one of those. We do 8 things. Here are 8 things. We're going to give them to you, and you're going to pay us for the 8 things. But 3 of those things don't work. 2 of those things you don't need. 3 of those things we're going to double down on and just say all of it's working. And we don't want to operate that way. So every week we try to articulate a different 60-second pitch that would say like, this is what's unique in our space.
Mm.
This is what we do that's a little different, a little nuanced.
Yeah, because we can Google everybody's competitor and
Hmm.
call them up. We have no idea how good they are, but we
Right.
can find somebody to cut our grass. We can find somebody to fix our car. We can find a roofer. We can find all that. But I'm with you. And on your website, when I was on it the other day, I don't see this very often, but it just leapt off the screen at me was words. That's what it was, a header for it was words, and they do
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. I mean, we say often everything speaks. What you
Mm.
say, what you don't say, how you present yourself, the way you look when you walk in the room, the way your worst employee looks when they walk in the room, how you train your employees, how you hire, how you interview, how you decide the cost of your goods, how you decide the amount you're going to pay your team, everything, how you speak about your revenue. If you speak about revenue as if it profits you, that sounds different than if you speak about revenue as if it expands the business.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of different ways to articulate anything, but everything speaks. And so we really try very hard to pay attention to the everything being spoken by the business, whether we have our hand on it or not. We'll say, well, that's not going to marry very well with this thing you're paying us to do. So let's try to change that while we're at it. Those kinds of concepts and designs.
Yeah, and I guess what's speaking to me right now is all that Cub stuff behind you on the
Sign of
wall.
righteousness. Yeah. Hmm.
Why well, you got your 1 World Series, so at least in your lifetime, you saw 1,
Right.
right?
Yeah. For the longest time, my oldest child thought the Cubs were always good. Strangest reality. He's
Uh,
13.
yeah.
So that run from '05 to '09,
Yeah.
where we were in the wild card, we won the division, we were in the NL championship, we were in the World Series, we won the World Series.
Mhm.
He was like, man, come October, dad's gonna be freaking out. We're gonna watch a lot of TV at night. And dad's gonna be glued to the TV and we can't ask him for anything. Um,
It
and
yeah.
and he thought that was normal. He really did.
It's kinda like 22-year-old fans living in New England.
Yes.
They think like, "Wow, it's always been this good with the Red
Yeah.
Sox and the Patriots and the Bruins." Like, "Nah, dude, your Patriots were awful before Belichick got there."
Hmm. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One of the things I really like about what you guys do and small business owners, when we start a business, we've got a million thoughts, and we think about half of them are awesome and we're gonna make a ton of money, which I love the optimism. But you say start with a strategy, whereas most small business owners start with, I got a product and a service, and I need to keep my doors open because I got to pay the bills while I grow this business. And there's really no strategy on how they're going to achieve their goals.
Yeah. Think of it like going to a firing range. So in a firing range, there are rules and then there are strategies. The rules would say this one area is where you're allowed to shoot from. So you're going to go to either this station or this booth. If you're indoors, if you're outdoors, you're going to, maybe there's an awning, there's a spot, there's a place where targets are marked. And so you're allowed to understand based on the rules of that business, like the rules of any business, that there's a place where you sit, there's a place where you shoot. Most business owners come into business with a ready, fire, aim approach, and then they try to bend the bullets. For the rest of their business life, they're trying to bend bullets they fired on day one. Well, this is what we are, and it was never it was never true. That was never the career that they had adopted. Their solution is not how they defined it as. And they're trying to bend the bullets of those conversations constantly. And so, what we try to do is help businesses rest, ready themselves, aim, that's the strategy, and then fire. Because if you call me after you've told everybody in the world, after you spent 25, $30,000 on marketing your brand, marketing your business, telling everybody in your ideal geofence demographic who you are and what you are. And then you ask me to make you a Facebook account that's going to make you a bunch of money, but all the marketing you push forward doesn't speak the truth of what your brand or business is. It's real hard to bend bullets, man, and it's really expensive.
Yeah, and we try to say so many things at once. We immediately,
Mm.
as soon as in the horse racing world, right? As soon as the gates open, let me tell you the 37 things my company does.
Yeah.
I'm
We
tuning
love
out
our
about
babies, man.
I'm tuning out about number 4 because
Yeah.
I'm certainly not gonna remember number 3 by the time you tell me 36 if I'm still awake and interested.
But we love our babies.
Yes.
Everybody loves their baby. You're a granddad. You
Oh,
love
yeah.
that baby.
Both of them. Yep.
You
Yep, yep,
you just they're just but you got a new one.
yep.
And you can't tell a Manning member, any member of your family, anything wrong with that baby.
Nope. Nope, nope,
Nope,
nope.
not possible.
I mean,
But man, if some
this is how talented my 6-week-old granddaughter is. Dude,
okay,
she's starting to lift her head. I know most babies don't do that till they're 4 years old. That's how good she is.
till they're 4 years old.
But
No, man, but I think in the same way, but think of it like dog years. So
yep.
we'll have the 6 week old baby and say, "Oh man, she's advanced," and
Mhm.
saying it, you're like, "This is kind of nonsense," but also, I kind of think she's probably advanced. And in business, if you tease that out to now, you're at a year in business. So the 6 week old is a year old business. You've spent a year of your business talking about that hammer that you make and how it's the greatest hammer
Mhm.
ever, but you're telling your
Yeah.
grandparents and your mom and them and your wife and your kids and your neighbors, and you're not talking to anybody who actually needs your hammer, and you're not saying anything that articulates what makes it a unique hammer. You're just saying in the history of babies, mine's the better one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not a marketing pitch. That's the crazy stuff grandparents say.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I do know she's 97th percentile in height, so I can quantify that, but the other stuff, you're right. Now, it's funny you bring
Crushing the long game.
absolutely, she's gonna be talented. Not yet, but boy, when she hits her stride, look out. It's funny that you brought up that analogy because I remember you telling me a story of one of your clients, I think it was a couple weeks ago when we were chatting, that she posted something and was bragging on the number of likes she got. And
Yeah.
then as you slowly started to weed out, so all your family did, right? She's very proud, yeah. All your friends did, right? Very proud. And by the time it was done, maybe 3 people who she didn't know liked it.
Yeah.
And does that really
Okay.
back to your point, does that accomplish anything?
Social media.
Yeah.
Here's 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 what we need to tell people. If I don't teach anybody anything for the rest of the week, let me teach this lesson. If it's a like, if it's a heart, if it's a wink, if it's clapping hands on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, those are vanity metrics. It is a metric that is intended to just make you feel good.
Mhm.
I can go like happy on Facebook. I could click 1,000 posts. Facebook will learn some things about me that way, but it doesn't help your business whatsoever. I'm not advocating for you. I'm not referring you. I'm not giving a testimonial to what you've done. I am not saying that I represent the excellence of your business or that I would rubber stamp that you do that well all the time. I just liked it. And likes make us feel good. Just like in real life, if 100 people in the room said, "Man, I like you," that's a great feeling. But that doesn't build your business. You need people who are invested. You need people who are ambassadors. You need people who will give a testimony and testify to the excellence of your business. And a lot of us get really, really excited about doing the fun, kitschy stuff that gets us a lot of likes. We're like, oh, we went viral because 10,000 people saw my video. How much money did it make?
Yeah.
Nothing. Then you went, that virus that you got was about as productive as a cold. Like, it's annoying, and people are going to bring it up to you, but they're not buying from you. And we're in business. It's one of the ways that personal personal influence, personal branding, influencers have kind of ruined that strategy of marketing, because when they get likes,
Mm.
those likes correlate to their sponsors, and their sponsors pay them more.
Yeah.
But if you're not being sponsored for the content you're making, you're not making any money for that content.
Well, you're sponsored by you and you can't pay yourself because the phone didn't ring. So I'm with
Right.
you on that. I'm
Yeah.
totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Another question I wanted to ask you about, there are a lot of people, especially during COVID, started a side hustle.
Hmm.
All right. And some of those turned into wonderful businesses. I think we can look to Amazon and Apple that started
Yeah.
out of the garage, right? Most of them
Yep.
aren't going to get that big, but a lot of people have always wanted to, pet sit, or I've always wanted to do, build websites, a side hustle, stuff like that. So what's a couple things they can do? So they already have, let's assume they have a full-time job and they're
Hmm.
starting this as a side hustle. So the first question is, what are some of the things, couple things they can do to slowly get the word out? And by doing that, should they create a business Facebook page and everything, or continue to use their personal Facebook page to promote that?
It really varies based on what you're selling, what your side hustle looks like. Multi-level marketing is very, very popular. We have it in this house. I don't do it. My wife does sell a skincare product line, and has for, oh, I'm going to say that wrong, 6, 7 years maybe,
Mhm.
and done very, very well. But she did not do a couple things that I think people need to avoid. One, don't treat it like it's a full-time business and your life depends on it if it's not, because we don't want to say our life depends on things that our life doesn't depend on. No one likes the little boy who cried wolf, right? Like, that's the story. The other thing is, don't spam your people.
Yeah.
Don't just bombard them with sales pitches. One of the challenges of most multi-level marketing companies and most side hustles that we get so excited that that excitement becomes our marketing. And think of a toddler when they're excited and they come in the house. I have a 3-year-old in this house. When he walks in the house and he's excited about something, he is going to stutter and stammer his way through repeating the same thing over and over again, to the point where you're kind of like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
lock it up. Like, say it one time. I'll be
Yeah.
happy for you,
Yeah.
but quit repeating it. And so I think a lot of those side hustles, people wear it out. I have my cousin, family's confusing. I had to pause for a second. My cousin, she's actually my cousin. Yes, she's married to my first cousin. That makes her my cousin.
There you go.
She started doing crafts. She will post intermittently very personalized content about how much she likes her crafts. She never sells them, but she'll show them. She'll show herself at a market, at a trade show. She was at an event this past weekend. It's not here in my area. It's actually much up there, much closer to you. And I saw it, and I liked the content because it was very much about her joy over something. Now, if you read that content and you're like, man, can you make me a sign? Well, she's going to get a sale, but she knows that the primary modality for sales for her is face to face,
Mhm.
in trades, at fairs, under a booth, in a kiosk, whatever. And that's really, really good. So that when she gives her freedom in her sort of marketing, like when we give a referral to something, we talk about, if I say I love the new gutters we got in our house, I'm essentially telling you that I really like my house, or that I care about my house, or that I'm invested in my house. You can come to my house and see that I like it, but you're going to kind of get the feel for it just on that post, just on that referral. It's the same way when we talk about our side hustles. If you are leaning on Facebook to make all your sales,
Mm.
be very intentional about that. And then maybe navigate looking at like a group page, a business page, a public figure page, if that's what your speed is.
Yeah, and some people that have a small business, or whether it's a side hustle or a full-time business, I'm iffy sometimes on their Facebook page because I get the business, I get maybe something they think is funny um, uh, in the world today, may or may not get politics, which I that's a whole nother podcast. And then I get like a couple pictures of their dog. I'm like, what are we doing here? And maybe that's just me, but I'm all over the place. I'm not focused on
Yeah,
anything with you.
it's about balance. I don't necessarily believe in like the super ethereal, like manifestation and balance kind of balance. But when you're promoting yourself, it's a long walk in the same direction. And if you're going to have three or four things that you post about them consistently and kind
Yeah.
of the same way. So if you were to go on my Instagram page, my Facebook page, you'll see quotes, you'll see my kids, you see a lot of my kids.
Mm.
You'll see me out doing networking, network marketing type stuff. And you'll see a lot of the things that I'm into. You'll see a picture of bourbon, baseball,
Mm.
some albums, the Bronco. You'll see all of that stuff. But that's pretty much my life. And my life is my work, things I enjoy, and the people in this house.
Yeah.
And that's just authentic from where I'm at. But I don't have a product to sell. I'm positioning myself as an expert in a couple different fields without ever telling you
Yeah.
buy a shirt from me or get your marketing from me or have me come speak at your event.
What is the oldest album you have in your house?
Oh, mercy. It's probably jazz.
Okay. How long
It's
have you
probably
owned that?
jazz, like 1930s, 40s type
Alright.
stuff.
How long what's the one you've owned the longest or one of the first ones you remember buying?
Probably something that reminded me of my grandfather.
Okay.
Love my grandfather very much, and he listened to old country music.
There you go.
So there's probably a Merle Haggard album over there, probably like right behind me.
Yeah.
That is is one of the first one is at least the most remarkable one I bought. I think it's the first time I bought one album. Like I didn't buy a box. I didn't go to a yard sale. I saw that one album and I was like, oh, that's old.
Yeah.
That looks like it smells like my grandfather.
Were you a member of Columbia Records like the rest of us where we got 9 albums for a penny and then they hooked you and like, "Man, I can't get away from these people."
Oh, back in the CDs days?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
No, albums. That's how old you're
No,
young.
I'm too young, man.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
too young.
But that was a
Did you
cool
know
deal.
did you know that for the last 2 to 3 years, the leading music physical purchase, so like not downloads, but a physical purchase, I think for 2021 and
Mm.
2022, the number one thing that was bought was vinyl.
They're coming back, yeah.
Yeah, those were the most physically purchased pieces of
Yeah.
music. CDs were second, and then on down to other different little products that you can buy. But albums are huge right now.
Yeah, I grew up here in Raleigh, and so we would go to Crabtree Mall
Oh yeah,
and
I know Crabtree well.
Go to Sam Goody's on the 2nd floor, I think it was on the 2nd floor, and just flip through albums and just looking for, whatever we were listening to back then, looking for a new album or a cool album, and that was a blast. I thoroughly
I'm,
enjoyed that.
I can't believe Sam Goodies was there back then.
Thank you.
I
It was even
I was in
invented. That's how old I am. It was
when
actually
I was a
around when
college student. When I was a student at Elon, one winter, I was the stock boy at Crabtree Valley Mall at the Abercrombie. Yep.
Oh, look at you.
hmm A stock boy, man.
Yeah, okay, sure.
They didn't put this up front. They
Okay,
said, get in
alright.
the back,
Yeah.
grab some boxes.
Did you get to wear any of the clothes?
Oh, you have to. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
You look good in them, right? Even though they wouldn't let you up front?
They would let me up front right after the store closed. Right after it closed.
Now, the other thing we would do when we went to Crabtree was after we went to Sam Goody's, we'd sneak down to Spencer's and see what dirty posters they had in the back.
On that, we have that same mall experience. Very much so. Very much so.
When you and your wife, Grace, are having a discussion and you're trying to defend something non-business related, does she know when you turn on your branding hat and tell you to turn it off?
She does not tell me when to turn it off.
Or just tells you
Um,
she doesn't believe it?
yeah, yeah. Now she might say, "That's a great question." When we're is discussing something like discussing something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
when we're just talking about different things, we have unique interests.
yeah.
She's worked kind of behind the scenes in film in like a healthcare role
Ooh,
for the last year and a half, 2 years. as COVID kind of allowed people to come back to shooting. Wilmington's really popular for that.
Oh, yeah.
And so we'll talk about things that we both know nothing about, like stunt driving,
Yeah.
how to build a set and tear
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
down. And in those situations, we're both pretty good at when we know we don't know,
Alright.
not really holding very tight to our opinions on something. Um, and in that situation, she's going to say, "Well, I saw, and
Yeah.
man, what can I do about that?
Yeah.
I've never seen it before."
But if you were trying to buy something, be it, let's say, a jet ski or, whatever, solar or a dish or something, and you really, really wanted it, and you knew you had to sell her on it, would she know she's being sold from you?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Because I'll have a plan. Be like, all right, so this is. I'm trying to think of the last time I did that. Like the Bronco that's
Yeah.
out there
Oh,
was
yeah.
actually her idea. I
Oh,
love that thing,
yeah.
but she was like, "I think it's time you get your car," and I was like, "Well, I got one," and I didn't know she meant my car, and so I I just said yes. Yeah, I don't make a lot of big purchases.
Alright. Now
Stuff makes me
in a
nervous.
nutshell, to explain this Bronco, it's got a killer back seat in the tr
Majestic. Yeah.
in the, I wanna say the trunk, but it's not the trunk, in the
Yeah. So
bed.
if you're unfamiliar with old Broncos, it's a 1979, and so the chassis of that truck, that vehicle, kind of the precursor to the SUV, is a truck chassis. It's a Ford Ranger chassis, but the old Ranger, back when Rangers were bigger, and so it sits long like a truck, but it's not as big as like what trucks were back
Mm,
then because trucks were so much bigger and bulkier. So when you don't have a tailgate, you can mount a back seat farther back.
okay.
And so there's about 3 foot of space from the front seat to the back
Yeah.
seat. It's a significant amount of space. But the
Now
pop
yep,
comes off and all
yep,
that stuff.
but you are dad of the year when you take your kids to school in that truck, right?
Especially my 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does enough stuff at the middle school and now starting to do some art stuff at the high school where I mean he's like, "Dad, slow down." Like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
I just want to take a little bit longer.
There you go.
And he's sitting in the back seat looking. He always sits in the back seat.
Waving to his people, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Puts his headphone, he puts his little earbuds in, and leans back with his eyes closed, his hair blowing in the wind. And I'm just sitting there driving Miss Daisy. It's
Yeah.
fine, fine.
You are tickled. So you've got an 8th grader, a 3rd grader, and a preschooler, right?
Yeah, it was
Alright.
terrible planning. Yes, sir.
Speaking of planning, you should have sold it better to Grace on that one. But anyways, so what have you learned from the 8th grader and the 3rd grader that you now apply to your preschooler?
Don't stress. Don't stress about. Give up the right to be offended and embarrassed by a kid. I worried, I think, a lot about my oldest, who is wonderful and really always has been. And my 8-year old is he's impulsive and very heart first. And so I think I've been reminded a lot between the differences between the two that when our 3-year old comes around the room and is freaking out, don't get frustrated. Give him a minute, teach him to slow down like you've been taught to slow down, and then just allow him to kind of say his piece. I think more than anything, the third kid has been because he's crazy. He is insane. We have learned from our oldest two to apply a lot more patience.
Yes. You were before we came on the air, you were about to tell a baseball story. You had baseball practice over the weekend. You're about to tell the
Oh
story,
yeah,
and I stopped you because I wanted all of us to hear it at the same time. So the floor
yeah.
is yours.
So I coach. I'm an assistant coach. I've been the head coach for the last few years, and because of work and business and all that stuff, I just didn't want to be able to dedicate that much time, and I certainly didn't want to not show up to a practice or a game because of work. And that's borne out to be accurate. There's 2 games this week, and I won't be able to make it to one of them. So I'm kind of the de facto pitching and catching coach. I pitched in high school, and I wasn't too bad. And so now I'm teaching kids how to pitch. Well, I haven't thrown. I messed up my shoulder, and when I was in high school, and haven't really thrown a lot of baseball until now. My oldest child never played. My middle child now plays a lot. And um, so yesterday I was pitching to a bunch of kids because it's a kid pitch league, so they need live arm practice, not a machine, not a toss or anything like that. And so I'm up on the pitching mound, pitching to one of our better kids, and he's running his mouth. And so I tell the catcher that I was like, listen, this is what we're gonna do, man. I'm gonna throw two fastballs, two seam fastballs, if you know what that means. I said, and then I'm gonna throw a changeup. And the catcher was saying, I've never caught one before. And I was like, that's fine because it's slower and it'll be low. It'll be low.
Did you ask him if he had his
And
cup on?
and I did. Oh, yeah, we won't let them get back there if they don't. So the first two pitches come in and they hum right in, and they're good. Strike one, strike two. The kid's like, "Is that all you got?" And he now let's be super clear what age group we're talking about.
Yes.
I'm being taunted by a 9-year-old.
Wait, did
Like,
he offer at either of those fastballs?
oh, he swung at both of them.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And they were fine. Like I'm not throwing for all I'm worth.
Yeah.
Like I'm I want to be able to walk and talk and use this arm. But so I get up and I throw the third pitch and it's the changeup. And I'll be honest, if high school Brad could have thrown that changeup, high school Brad would have played in college. It was the best changeup I've ever thrown in my life. And this kid swung as hard as he could. He swung, I don't know, a half a second early, which is a lot in the pitch, and fell over. And when he fell over, I just got this huge smile on my face. And the head coach of the team, and again, we're all dads. Like my kid is standing at second base, his kid's standing at first base. The kid who just fell over, his dad is working with hitting over on the side. And the kid who's catching's dad sitting in the stands. The dad in the stands laughed. I didn't. I just put my head down and smiled and heard the coach yell, "Caldwell, I swear if you laugh at that 9-year-old you just struck out. Don't do it. Don't laugh." And it's the highlight of my adult pitching career right there.
What words did the batter have for you after that one?
Good pitch, coach. Good pitch. What was that, coach? It was a changeup, man.
He'll want to see you again with that changeup, right?
Oh yeah. I told him I didn't think any other 9-year-olds were going to have that in their arsenal.
Yeah.
But it's what we teach kids because we don't want them to hurt their shoulder. And so the arm action of a changeup is the same.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably a little bit better if you throw it correctly. Your arm goes up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit safer of a pitch.
And for me to jump on a pedestal here for a second, because I coached my boys in baseball and basketball growing up, there's always that one dad that thought, if I win the 8 and under Saturday morning rec league, I think the Lakers will hire me.
Yeah.
There was actually a dad that knew his career won-loss record. I'm clueless, so I couldn't tell you if we had.
Okay.
I couldn't even know that.
So,
but real quick, there's always that dad who teaches his 9-year-old to throw a curveball. I'm like, dude, you're making a wrong decision.
Yeah, we don't have any of those on our team.
Good.
The pitching coach won't allow it.
Good.
But I've coached in high school, middle school, and then rec league levels. So I've coached at a bunch of different levels in my adult life. And with these kids in this league is a lot of fun. It is relatively competitive, and we had several teams from our league represent the state of North Carolina in various little league formats.
Cool.
At a whole bunch of ages. So our league's pretty good. And the first year that we played, it was the fall. I coached 3 seasons in a row, and it was the fall, and we went 1-11. So I definitely remember that one.
Yeah.
And then this last spring, we went 7-5 with largely the same team. And so I am abundantly aware of my record as a head coach, because it is very hard not to be aware of 1-11. 1-11 is hard to miss. I can tell you exactly how we beat the team we beat, and they ended up being the number 1 team in the league. I remember it well. I bring it up to their coach often.
Good.
Yeah.
And those other,
it's my version of a change up to that 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I just bring it up to him whenever I can.
The 11 losses better have had really good snacks after the game.
Oh, we've had great parents. I think that's my favorite thing about coaching Little League.
That's the key. Yes.
Is not the snacks, because I don't really care for juice boxes and pretzels or whatever. But it's been the parents. We've had a lot of really good families.
But the kids care about them when they're 5 years old. They just want to
Oh
get their
yeah.
uniform dirty and have a good snack at the end of the
Now that we're with a bunch of 8, 9, and 10-year-olds, I'll let you know when that ends. Because so far, it still comes up.
Yeah.
It still comes up.
All right, one of my favorite questions to ask people on the show that are married is, so your wife's name is Grace.
Yeah.
Um, how did you 2 meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
No, we do not tell the story the same way. Um, so, but how did we meet? Quick version. That's why we tell it differently. She'll say something like, "We met online," and that's what she'll say. She'll leave it at that, and that's so disingenuous to the story. That's why I don't say it that way, because I was working and living with my alma mater, Elon University. I was doing campus ministry. I used to be a pastor, and so I was working at Elon doing campus ministry, having a great time. And a buddy of mine called me and asked me to come to Ohio to help at the church he was at. And so I was like, well, it seems like a good opportunity. I better go take it. So I took off to go to help. But before I left, it was during the Christmas break when I made the decision to go, and the timing just worked out to get me there in the first week of January. So the college kids weren't going to be back. The ministry would keep going, but the college kids weren't going to see me again. And so I sent out, instead of in email marketing, we didn't really have that in 2006. So instead, I sent out a blog on a platform called Zanga,
Jesus.
xanga.com. And I sent out, it had pictures of Dayton, Ohio, and I've never lived this close to the Colts. I'm a Colts fan. I've never lived this close to the Cubs. I'm a Cubs fan. And so I was like, this is going to be great. Meanwhile, a young woman was transferring from junior college to a college just outside of Dayton. And her best friend looked up things like the Chicago Cubs ministry Christian Dayton, Ohio, and
Wow.
found the most recent post was by a minister moving from North Carolina to Ohio. And she showed her friend. Her friend sent me a message and said, "Hey, I'm going to be really close to the church you're going to work at. Let me know when you get there, and I'll come visit the church." So my first full day in Ohio was a Sunday, and I was with the college class teaching, and a college student walked in, and it was the girl from Zanga, and her name is Grace, and that's how we met.
Wow. Yeah, she doesn't do that story justice.
Yeah, she's
She
like, "We met online."
Yeah, but
Come on.
generally, I've found the husbands tell the better stories because we're bragging on our wives, and
Absolutely.
and our wives are like, "Well, I met this guy, he seemed nice." It's like, "Wow,
Well,
that's
see, the
it?"
truth of the story, I tried to avoid that woman like the plague for months, and I failed miserably. She's much faster than I am.
Well, I'm glad you failed miserably and you 2 are
Yeah,
together
me too,
today.
man. It's worked out well. It's been 15 years. Good stuff.
Alright, so it's unfair for the rest of us watching and listening today that not only can you pitch, but you can sing and preach. I mean, man, what else do you do that we don't know about? I mean, you got a classic Bronco that you drive, you're the
Mm,
cool dad, your kids are in the back seat, loving life, and you're an ambassador to the, Port City Young Professionals groups who get to mold young business minds. I mean, what's
yeah.
what's left for you?
Mm, left. Man, I think all of the good things, and I received that. I do think there's a lot of good things that have come in life, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of it has been head down. I mentioned this earlier. Recognize that life's a long walk in the same direction. I don't want the turns. I want if there's going to be a turn, I don't want to be taking it at 80.
No.
I want to be coasting and enjoying the scenery. I want to be grateful for who's in the ride with me. And I think that's probably because there's been hard things. I used to preach a lot, and now I'll do the occasional wedding, funeral.
Mm.
Did one of a wedding in July. I'll do another one in up in Raleigh, well Durham, in October. And I'm a lot of people who don't go to church as pastors, and I get that honor
Yeah.
because I'm fairly steady. I think that's been the trick. I don't know that there's any. I was Elon's mascot.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah, so I
Yep.
took dance for like 6 7 years, tap, jazz, and ballet.
Can you still dance?
I don't know that I could back then.
There you go. All right.
I don't know.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah, I
You'll
don't
be here
know.
all week, folks.
I took dance. I didn't say I was like awesome at it.
Okay,
I took it.
that's better messaging then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, I
took
took dance.
dance.
Yeah, look up Nina Wheeler School of Dance in Durham. Call her, ask her, and if she says, "Good Lord, no," trust her. Trust her. She's right.
Of all of her students, she'll probably remember you the most because how bad you were or how bad you
Well,
think you were, right?
I grew up with her oldest child, so she does. No, I talked to Nina, so she will know me. So if you call and be like, "Do you remember a student named Brad Caldwell?" She's gonna laugh,
Yeah.
or she's gonna say something really nice that's probably not true.
Oh, I hope she laughs. I hope somebody here listening knows her and will
Oh,
reach
that'd be
out to her,
so
and I
good.
hope she's honest
That'd
and
be so
laughs.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Someone call Nina. Tell Nina
you
I said that.
For the folks who don't know you, tell us who the Aviators, Sharks, and Mill Rats are.
Oh yeah, those are baseball teams. You can add Spartanburgers to
That's
that list.
right.
That's in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So the Sharks are the Wilmington Sharks, the Lafayette, Indiana Lafayette Aviators, the Johnstown, Pennsylvania Johnstown Mill Rats, and the Spartanburgers of Spartanburg, South Carolina are baseball teams that we get to oversee a lot of the marketing and branding for. We created the Mill Rats and the Spartanburgers. We've done social media and advertising and PR stuff for the Sharks, and we oversee all the digital marketing for the Aviators. So those are summer collegiate wood bat league baseball teams. So for like 2.5 months out of the summer, as soon as school ends for a bunch of college athletes, college baseball players, they have the opportunity all over the country. Really, there's
Mhm.
probably like a dozen at least
Yeah.
leagues that have these teams where the kids live in a host home, and they play baseball 2, 3, 4 times a week for about 2.5 months with a usually a college coach from another school. They all get recruited. They all send in videos. They all send in tapes and all that stuff. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool environment. It's almost pre-minor league.
Have you asked to pitch a half inning?
No, oh, that's such. I would get destroyed, but that would be
That's
so
not
much
the
fun.
point. The point is no, the point is not what happens. The point is it did happen.
No, yeah, Oh man,
Yeah.
that's. I'm calling the owners of the Sharks today.
Tell them in lieu of 1 week's pay that they give you for marketing, you want to pitch
Yeah,
just a half inning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do it.
I mean, I'll get destroyed. It won't last a half
It
inning.
won't matter.
It'll
It
it'll be.
won't
I'll
matter.
pitch four batters, and
Yeah.
after they all destroy me,
You you just need the pregame photo in uniform. It doesn't matter what happens after
absolutely,
that. Yeah.
absolutely, that would be such great press and such bad photos. Nobody really wants to see that. But
I
I'll be there.
Yeah, I definitely see you as a mill rat, but I know you're an aviator because I know you enjoyed setting that stuff up for the beer, and the
Oh
different
yeah,
parts of the stadium. So yeah,
yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, the naming of a team,
yeah,
name theory, which is a real thing. When you name a brand, you really need to think through kind of what their goals are. You really help a brand develop its branding
mm,
when you ask really good questions about the name. We've named SaaS companies, medical companies, trade companies, sports teams. And when you're asking those questions, Spartanburg, the name kind of sat right there, like a Spartan burger. And so, which was on a menu item at another restaurant in that town already.
yeah,
But then we had to go through a bunch of things to get to the right spot. Spartanburg has a Civil War history. Spartanburg is one of the first places Satchel Paige played baseball.
oh wow,
So there's a huge baseball history in a place like Spartanburg. There's a huge American history in a place like Spartanburg, and a lot of it's actually really charming and really really nice. So being able to figure out the right way to name a team is fun. Johnstown, Pennsylvania had huge paper mills
mm,
that still exist. They're still physically there. They're obviously not used anymore. But lumber mills and paper mills were very big in Johnstown, and you called a worker in the mill a mill rat.
nice,
That was just it's a kind of a term of endearment, and so we stuck with that. The aviators, flight is huge in the Midwest, so the aviator title is awesome.
mm,
Ace is their mascot. It's a lot of fun, and we're down here in Wilmington, and we can't get away from nautical stuff. Like we can't help ourselves.
Yeah.
Tides, wave,
Yeah.
crash, crush, hurricanes, sharks.
There you go.
We can't stop it.
I know that some people, when they start their own business, overthink the name
Yeah,
because they want to find like a Greek or a Latin word that means 9 things that they stand for, and nobody can remember it because they can't pronounce it. And some names I've
right.
seen just, what were you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, and if you look back at some of the names that are the most brand heavy, so either they've changed a verb, like when you go online to search something, what do? You Google it.
Yeah,
Google's not the only search engine. They're just
yeah,
the biggest on the planet by a long shot. If
mm,
you're shopping on retail, there's a really good chance you're at Amazon, even though that market is highly, highly competitive. If you're going to eat a green fruit with brown kind of furry flesh on it,
we've been through this.
yeah, that's a Chinese gooseberry. You call it a kiwi because that's the first brand that was ever
I
marketed for
remember
that.
that. Yeah,
You know, when your kid gets a boo boo, you don't put a medical adhesive strip on it, you put a band aid on it. Like,
and
if you think about those names going backwards, they don't make any sense.
yeah,
If I said name the two most popular athletic apparel brands, you're going to say Nike because you're supposed to.
yep,
Nobody knew what that word meant. People still don't know what it means, but everybody knows how to say it.
yep,
And we're just saying Adidas wrong. Adidas is a bunch of names of people who are part of the company thrown together. And if you say it based on their names, you'd say Adidas.
Adidas. I
Like,
remember that. Yep,
those,
yeah.
there are some phenomenally named companies that are run so poorly you will never hear of them. So
Well,
just
and
do your work
yeah,
and do it really, really well. Don't get lost in the name. The only branding thing that I think is a massive fail is when you color your company based on your favorite colors. Otherwise, do whatever you want, but don't
yeah.
be purple and gold because you went to that school or that was your mom's favorite color and your dad's
I
favorite
can't
color.
use orange and
Don't do that.
white.
You can, you can, you
Okay,
can. If you're in
yeah.
highway construction or you're at this one tiny university in the
or
mountains of Tennessee.
or trash pickup on the side of the road on
Yeah,
Sundays
yeah.
with
If
the
you're in a
yeah.
prison release
Yep.
program, you are
Heard it all.
fall
Yeah.
colors are yours.
All right, so I got one more verb for you. Way back in the day, hey, can you go Xerox me some copies of this?
Yeah, exactly right.
That's all we
Exactly right.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter copier, whatever it could have been Minolta. Hey, go
Yeah.
is a zero hey, I heard the Xerox isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of that, and it's fun.
Yeah. Oh
It's a
yeah.
lot of fun when you realize that there are companies that became so synonymous with their excellence that they took over the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like Chick-fil-A is not the first company that said my pleasure. If you know the Chick-fil-A history,
Yep.
Truett Cathy will tell you he heard that
Mm.
from a
Oh,
bellhop in a Ritz Carlton.
wow.
He walked up to the bellhop and the bellhop said, "Sir, I'll take your bags." He said, "Well, thank you." And the young man looked back at him and said, "It's my pleasure, sir." And they walked to the elevator.
Wow. And
And
now
he
I
said,
go to probably more drive-throughs than I need to, and they're some of those are starting to pick up. I'll say thank you, and they'll say my pleasure. I'm like,
"Yeah,
wonder where you got that from. So,
yeah,
but it
probably
matters.
wasn't the Ritz Carlton."
No, I doubt that. So I doubt that. All right, folks, if you need help with your business, if you need a 30-minute consult to get your compass in order, Brad, we've been putting his number up here the whole time. What is the website, Brad?
This is brandstrategy.com.
Got it. All right. Because there's a lot of things, there's a million things to do, and you can't be expected to do them all. So you need help. The smart people call the smart people who know what they do because we don't do them or can't do them. So we hire somebody that does do that and they're a professional. So please do that. And also, if you're in the Wilmington area, I beg you on Thursday morning at 8 a.m., go to the Angus Grill. It will
Come
be
on.
worth it. It will. Oh, how's your presentation last week?
Went well. Had a
Okay.
good time.
All right. Getting feedback? Any quick immediate feedback that you thought you were going to get?
You know, it was very interesting. Several people said a couple comments like, "I didn't know you did that."
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about, because we went kind of very much with the BNI model to introduce myself and my business, tell something personal about me. We did family and some of the things you see behind you.
Mm,
And then it was very much, this is who we've helped and this is what we've done for them. And in the articulation of what I've done for these businesses, it occurs to me I haven't really expanded in my 60
Yeah.
seconds a lot of what I do. And so, like, I mean, a business partner said, "Man, I didn't know you did all that." And he's a business partner in something else, but
Mhm.
he should know. People should know what I do and how we've helped.
And it's
So,
our job to tell them. It's not their job to remember, right?
of course,
All
yeah.
right. Brad, if you'll hang on after the closing credits, I forgot to tell you that early on. So a little housekeeping stuff there. But folks, reach out to Brad. He'll help you. He'll point you in the right direction. He may not be able to help you, may not want to help you, but he'll point you in the right direction. Hey, we've all fired clients, right? And maybe some people aren't ready and stuff like that. But give them a call because you do need help on some things to get your business going, and word of mouth and get the word out there is one thing. So, Brad, always a pleasure. And I think I'm going to come see you guys on Thursday.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right, and we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.